InvestaFest 2022 is brought to you by these major partners: Atram, To Trade Asia, and these other partners. Do not forget to share your experience and learning on social media. Use our official hashtag InvestaFest 2022.
Kimm Arellano. Kimm Arellano is the Digital Distribution Officer of BPI Investment Management Inc. He manages the business of BIMI across various digital platforms and partners. Prior to this, he joined BPI in 2014 as an investment advisor. Kimm is a certified investment solicitor by the Securities and Exchange Commission and a certified money market and foreign exchange dealer by the Ateneo de Manila University Graduate School of Business and Bankers Association of the Philippines.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I am Kimm Arellano from BPI Investment Management Incorporated. So today, this is BPI's portion in InvestaFest 2022. And actually, I would like to first thank Investa for having me. And of course, with this InvestaFest 2022, we are working together with Investa in making sure that everyone is together in doing or in building towards financial inclusivity. Okay, so that goes actually in line with our own goal in BPI Investment Management Inc. to make investing more accessible to more people. So with that, let's start with our topic for tonight, which is achieving financial freedom through mutual funds. Okay? But first, before we talk about financial freedom, let's have to address financial survival. Of course, we all know that for the past 2 years going into our third year, affected tayo by the pandemic. Okay, so a lot of changes happened during the pandemic, our personal lives, our professional lives, naapektuhan ng pandemic. And because of that, of course, marami sa atin had to adjust our finances, had to adjust our discipline when it comes to money, when it comes to saving, when it comes to investing. So let's talk about financial survival first. How do we recover from the pandemic, and how do we make sure that if ever another crisis happens, we are in a good spot? Okay? So first, we have to have what we call the emergency fund. Okay? So the emergency fund is important because this will be your pool of money na pagkukunan natin ng pera if ever magkaroon tayo ng, emergency. Okay, so anong types of emergency pa? Possible na, let's say, ma-lay-off ka sa trabaho, possible na environmental emergency, and whatever types of emergencies. Okay, so not just any type of saving ang kailangan natin dito. We must have something that is equal to at least 6 times of your monthly expenses. Okay, 6 times of your monthly expenses. So for example, every month on average, gumagastos ka sa bahay for your household, you spend, let's say, 50,000 pesos. Okay, so that includes your grocery, your utilities, your phone bill, your internet, electricity, water, and all other necessities na nagagastosan mo on a monthly basis. So if that's 50,000 pesos total for 1 month, multiply it by 6, which is 300,000. Okay? So kung gumagastos ka ng 50,000 pesos a month, before ka mag-consider to invest, before you consider anything else, ipunin mo muna yung 6 times of that monthly expense, which is, in our example, 300,000 pesos. Okay? So of course, depende yan sa inyo. Some of you are spending less, some of you are spending more. So you'll have to do the computation on your own. Okay? So i-add mo lahat ng mga expenses mo on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, multiply that by 6, and then ayun yung unang assignment mo after this session. You have to make sure na meron kang emergency fund worth 6 times of your monthly expenses. Now, bakit 6 times? Because statistically speaking, it would take you about 6 months before ka makarecover from that emergency. And in that 6 months, kung hindi ka kumikita in 6 months, wala kang sweldo in 6 months, dapat meron kang pupukunan, and that would be your emergency fund. Okay? Next is to increase liquidity. Okay? A lot of us, a lot of Filipinos, isa lang yung pinukuhan natin ng liquidity natin or ng cash natin, which is most likely either your job or your business. Okay? So natutunan natin because of the pandemic, there's a high risk na mawalan ka ng trabaho or hindi ka kumita as much as you did before or yung business mo is maapektuhan. So you have to make sure that you have other sources of income. Okay? You have other sources of liquidity. So increase your sources of liquidity. Do not depend on one single source of income. Okay? Let's look at other forms of increasing liquidity. Again, as I mentioned, you have to add passive and active sources. So active meaning actively pinagtarapuhan mo or pinaglalagyan mo ng effort para kumita ka ng pera. So this can be of course your job, your business. So maybe kung meron ka ng full-time job, maybe you can start a sideline, di ba? Pwede kang mag-start ng side hustle. And passive incomes, this are yung mga pwede mong pagkakitaan na hindi mo kailangan paglaanan ng masyadong maraming effort. So let's say pwedeng rental, kung meron kang additional or vacant na unit, vacant na bahay, maybe you can rent it out para meron kang passive income on a monthly basis. Okay, so add passive and active sources. Okay, more good debt, less bad debt. Okay, utang. Pwede kang umutang as long as maganda yung utang or income generating yung utang. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Pwede kang mangutang for the purpose of business, di ba? Pwede kang mangutang for the purpose of putting it somewhere na alam mong mag-grow, okay? May potential for growth. Hindi nangungutang ka just for the sake of getting something, which is what we call bad debt. So a lot of us or a lot of Filipinos are prone to that, di ba? Mangungutang sila just because gusto nang makahabol dun sa latest na model ng iPhone, for example, or anything else na more on for your luxuries or sa mga luho natin. So make sure na if mangutang tayo, yung paglalaanan natin ng pinag-utangan natin would be for a better source. That is possible to even generate additional income for us. And lastly, cut unnecessary or irrelevant costs. Okay? So marami sa atin, we have maliliit na costs on a regular basis. Pero if that adds up, if you're going to total all of that small costs, lumalaki siya. So this can be monthly subscriptions or small habits natin of spending that can be foregone. Pwede ka nang mabuhay kahit wala yan. Or maybe meron kang subscription na you subscribed 5 years ago, nag-recur yung fee, pero right now hindi mo naman na siya ginagamit. So you have to review ano yung mga subscriptions natin, ano yung mga pinagdagastusan natin that might be eating up yung liquidity natin. Okay, so those are some tips to increase your liquidity. Okay, ito lagi namin sinasabi sa BPI, you have to change your habit. Okay? Kasi when we are talking about savings, usually what we do is kinukuha natin yung income, kinukuha natin yung salary natin for the month. Okay? Gumagastos tayo, ginagamit natin for our usual expenses. And then whatever is left, that is what we put into our savings account. Ayun yung iniipon natin, ayun yung ini-invest natin. But the problem here is possible na yung expenses mo might be higher than your income. So possible na wala kang savings or actually possible din na negative pa yung kakalabasan. Mas malaki yung expense mo than your income. So what we want you to do is to change your habit. Okay, so we have a new formula here. Hindi ganun kahirap. Income, okay, this time, ibawas na natin yung savings. And then whatever is left, and yung i-budget mo for your expenses. Okay, so let's say kumikita ka ng 20,000 pesos a month. Okay, before ka gumastos, set aside ka muna ng 2,000 pesos, 10% of that. And then yung natirang 18,000 pesos. That's what you can use. And yung pwede mong i-budget for your expenses. Okay, so by doing this simple change in your habit, you can be sure na kahit paano you can increase your savings or you can earn or make sure na may naiipon dun sa iyong income. All right, so that is our new formula. Okay, let's look at something, an example of what we have been talking about for the past few slides. Okay, so let's look at this. We have a profile, single siya in his early 30s. and living with parents. Okay, so wala masyadong pinagkakagastusan. Okay, so let's say na yung salary niya is 50,000 pesos. Okay, so this is per month. But if we're going to look at his expenses, medyo magastos siya, maluho siya. Okay, so if we add all of that in total, total expense is 52,000 pesos. So as we mentioned kanina, income minus expense is savings, equal to savings. But in this example, yung expense niya is more than his salary. So in the end, wala siyang savings, he has a deficit or utang of 2,000 pesos. So if we're going to apply yung mga minention kong tips kanina on how we can increase liquidity and financially survive, okay, first and second na tips natin is you can increase or add your sources of income. Okay, so in this example, maybe you have a hobby, maybe you have a passion na pwede mo ring pagkakitaan. Maybe marunong ka mag-bake or you want to try buy and sell, okay? So those are some things that you can do to augment yung income mo. Okay, so in this example, maybe nakakita siya ng side hustle that gives him 15,000 pesos additional income every month. Now on the right side, dun sa expenses side natin, you can adjust your expenses. Marami din sa mga expenses dito. You can reduce naman or you can totally remove from your budget. Okay, so if we do that, you add to your source of income and then you reduce or manage your expenses. Okay, your total income is now 65,000 pesos at dahil binabawasan mo pa yung expenses mo, it's now only 41,000 pesos. And in the end, you had a total surplus or savings of 24,000 pesos. Okay, so maybe this is something that you can do on your own, diba? I-list mo how much are you earning every month. I-list mo rin kung ano yung mga pinagkakagastosan mo on a monthly basis. And then, do the math. Okay? Check mo. Baka nga mas magarami pa yung ginagastos mo kaysa kinikita mo. And if that's the case, then you'll have to adjust. Okay? So that's another assignment for you after this session. Okay, now let's talk about something else. Let's talk about inflation. Okay? So inflation, this is the natural increase in the prices of goods and commodities. Okay? Normal na pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin. Another way of looking at it is this is also the fall in the purchasing value of your money. Meaning, yung pera mo before, okay, pera mo 10 years ago, let's say you have 5,000 pesos, that will not be enough to buy the same number of goods or avail the same number of services 5 years or 10 years after. Okay? Because tumaas ang presyo ng mga bilihin. And that is very common. That is very natural because of several factors. It can be because of demand, masyadong mataas ang demand, or maybe because masyadong konti na ang supply. So in those cases, prices will always increase. Okay? So yung latest print natin, inflation print natin as of February, okay, year on year, meaning February 2021 to February 2022, inflation was at 3%. All right? Meaning for that year, for that period of 12 months, February to February, tumaas ang presyo ng mga bilihin by 3%. Okay? So that's something that you have to consider. That is the bare minimum na kailangan mong i-address when you are managing your expenses. Hindi mo siya napapansin kasi hindi siya expense, hindi siya income, but it's an invisible hand that eats up your money. Okay, let's look at an example. Let's say in 2009, meron kang 500 pesos, nag-grocery ka. With 500 pesos, let's say you can buy 3 bags worth of goods. After 5 years, bumalik ka sa grocery with 500 pesos, 2 bags of goods na lang yung makukuha mo. And in 2019, with 500 pesos, 1 bag na lang yung kayang bilhin ng pera mo. Okay? In this example, 500 pesos is 500 pesos, but the value of 500 pesos is not the same as 5 years prior and 10 years prior. And that is inflation. All right, so I hope you learned something today that will help you consider your expenses and your budgeting moving forward as well. Okay, as mentioned by Warren Buffett, never depend on a single income. Make an investment to create a second source. All right, so increase your liquidity. Hindi pwedeng one source of income lang. You have to consider adding another one or another few. Okay? And that's where we go into investing. Na-address na natin yung financial survival. I hope marami kayong natutunan na tips dun sa first portion natin that you can apply for your personal well-being and financial well-being. Okay, but now let's go into the actual meat of this discussion, which is mutual fund. So what is a mutual fund? Basically, a mutual fund is a collective investment scheme. Okay, it's an investment wherein marami kayong nag-i-invest in a particular mutual fund, and then kapag kumita si mutual fund, same din kayo ng kikitain in percentage. Alright, so siguro to laymanize it para mas maging simple at mas maintindihan siya. Let's say, meron kayong group of friends, alright? And then sa group of friends nyo, merong isa na magaling mag-manage ng pera. And then sabi niya, meron siyang business or meron siyang investment option na kino-consider. Tapos sino-offer niya sa inyo. If nag-invest kayo sa kanya or if you allow him to manage your money for you, then after some time, kapag kumita yung investment, i-distribute niya yung income to all of those na nag-participate depending on how much they invested or how much they gave to that person. So similarly, that's how mutual funds work. But in this case, hindi mo binigay yung pera sa isang friend or sa isang stranger to manage it for you. In this case, in our case, okay, specifically, when you invest in a mutual fund, you are banking on 49 years of investment experience ni BPI Investment Management Incorporated. So when you invest in a mutual fund, kami yung nagmamanage ng money mo. Kami na yung bahalang mag-research, kami na yung bahalang mamili kung saan inilalagay yung investment. And of course, to make sure na either kumikita yung money or if hindi maganda yung market, to make sure that we are minimizing the risk of your investment. And that is what we do. Okay, so let's look at how mutual funds work again. Okay, so this is the diagram on how it works. Let's look at number 1. So as mentioned kanina, we pull money from a large number of investors with a common goal. Okay, so may mga investors na naghahanap lang ng security or a little bit more income. There are also investors na naghahanap ng higher potential growth. Okay, so depende ko ano yung common goal ng investors namin. Then that is where their money will be pooled. Okay, so one common goal. And then this pooled fund, this pooled money would be managed by the fund manager. So si fund manager, ang trabaho niya is to invest that pooled money into various securities of different asset classes. Okay? So he does the research, he does the diversification, he does the buying and selling of the securities. So that's his job. All right? So itong mga securities na to over time, this would generate income. All right, so this income would be given back to the investors. Now, ang trabaho ni investor, okay, aside from waiting for the money to grow, is siya rin yung magsasabi kung kailan siya aalis dun sa investment. So at any point in time, he decides to continue investing or to pull out for redeem the investment, then that's the only time that the investor will realize gains or possibly losses. Meaning, as long as hindi umaalis si investor, as long as hindi siya umaalis din sa investment fund, sa mutual fund, yung money would be continually invested. So iikot ulit siya back to number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright? So meaning, kapag kumita na siya and then hindi niya kinuha yung money, tumaas ulit yung market, gumanda ulit yung investment, then there's also the power of compounding. So lumalaki lalo yung potential income from the investment. So in basic terms, this is how a mutual fund works. All right, so let's look at an application of what we talked about on how it works. All right, so let's say on December 27, 2019, you decide na mag-invest in a conservative mutual fund, in a relatively safer na mutual fund. Okay, nag-invest ka ng around 10,000 pesos, 9,936.62, and yung price ng mutual fund at that time, nung December 27, 2019, is 125 0.78. Okay? So because of that, bumili ka around 10,000 pesos at 125, you got 79 shares of the mutual fund. Now, itong 79 shares ng mutual fund mo, this will remain constant. Hindi siya magbabago, hindi siya tataas, hindi siya bababa unless magdagdag ka or mag-redeem ka from your investment. Okay? So it remains constant, but ang nag-iiba is yung price. And totally, that would also dictate kung ano yung magiging income or loss mo from the investment. Okay, no, after 6 months, chinek mo ulit yung investment mo. Okay, so December 2019 to June 30, 2020, all right, you still have 79 shares, but yung price ng mutual fund from 125, it now became 128.15. Okay, you have 79 shares, so if you multiply it by 128.15, yung value of the investment is now 10,123.85. And fast forward another 6 months, okay, December 29, 2020, from 128.15, the price of the fund is now 129.81. If you multiply it by 79 shares that you have, then you have 10,254.99. So basically, this is how the mutual fund earns, or this is how you can earn from a mutual fund through price appreciation. You buy, bumibili ka or nag-i-invest ka at your starting price on the day that you invested. And then, kung anong difference on the day that you redeemed or pulled out from the investment, then that would dictate kung magkano yung i-realize mo na gain. Magkano yung makukuha mong amount from the investment. In this case, kung nag-invest ka from December 27, 2019 to December 29, 2020, you effectively got an income of 3.2%. Okay? So I hope everyone understands on how it works. If you have questions, later in the Q&A portion, we can clarify. Okay? Now let's look at why we are promoting mutual funds for financial freedom. Now, mutual funds, these are actually a very good product either for first-time investors. Okay, so kung wala ka pang experience with any types of investment, a mutual fund is a very great entry level for you. Or if marami ka ng investment, marami ka ng experience, marami ka ng alam when it comes to investment, you're savvy when it comes to investment, a mutual fund is still a good addition to your portfolio in terms of diversification. All right, so why do we recommend all of this? It's because of the following benefits or advantages of a mutual fund: management, diversification, affordability, and liquidity. Okay, so let's look at the first one, fund management or professional fund management. Again, when you invest in a mutual fund, pinagkakatiwala mo yung money mo to the fund manager. In this case, in our case, it's BPI Investment Management Inc.'s fund managers handling your investment. So si fund manager namin has great access, has great oversight over several types of investments and the best practices on how to make sure na kumikita yung investment mo or nababawasan yung risk ng investment mo. So he has access to critical market information, and of course, nandun yung expertise niya when it comes to investments in general. Okay, so it's much better to have someone handle the investment for you if ikaw on your own wala kang idea on investments or wala kang time to manage your investments, then our fund manager can do the management for you. Okay? Next is diversification. Okay? So again, with investments, kapag nag-invest ka sa isang mutual fund, automatically, all right, your money is diversified into various securities. Okay? Hindi mo na kailangang mamili ng iba't ibang specific securities. With your investment, regardless kung magkano yung amount na i-invest mo, automatically naka-invest na siya, sometimes in tens, sometimes in hundreds of different securities. Okay, so this diversification is one of the best strategies that we are encouraging our investors or our clients to follow. Kasi with diversification, you are reducing your risk and volatility of your returns. Ini-spread out mo siya. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket. Meaning, let's say for example, for some reason, bumaba yung market or hindi maganda yung performance ng market, if you are diversified, okay, hindi babagsak lahat ng investment mo. You have other portions of your portfolio, of your mutual fund, that might be performing better or performing well compared to others. Okay, so that is another benefit of your diversification. So it gives you steadier results in terms of the performance of your fund. Okay, next, affordability. Okay, so with Investa, actually, we have a fund that you can invest in for as low as 50 pesos. Okay, so with 50 pesos lang, you can start your investing journey. Others, they start at around 5,000 pesos or a bit more. Okay, but again, minimum is around 50 pesos for, let's say, Philippine Stock Index Fund. If you want to start investing in the local stock market, then you can start so with just 50 pesos. So by investing in a mutual fund, hindi mo na kailangan mag-invest ng hundreds of thousands of pesos. Hindi mo na kailangan mag-invest ng millions of pesos if kung gusto mo na diversified yung investment mo into various securities. Okay? So as mentioned kanina, instant diversification regardless of amount. So yung 50 pesos mo kahit na relatively mababa yung minimum, okay, it's already diversified into multiple investments. Okay? So of course, as you go towards your journey in investing, maybe you can start investing more and more to grow your investment portfolio. Okay, next, or I think this is last, is liquidity. Okay, so with mutual funds, all right, you can redeem your investment at any business day. Okay, so let's say nag-start ka mag-invest last year and then you wanted to redeem your investment today, you can redeem today. Okay, meron lang tayong tinatawag na early na holding period, but it's relatively short at around 7 days, 90 days, and 180 days. Anytime after that holding period, you can redeem your investment without incurring any fee for your redemption. Okay? So if hindi business day, let's say nag-fall on a weekend or on a holiday, and then it will be treated as the next business day's transaction. Okay? So hindi siya katulad ng, let's say, ng bond or ng time deposit na kailangan mag-stay or else merong penalty, for example. Or hindi mo siya kailangang iwan ng intervals of 6 months, 6 months, and 6 months, and so on and so forth. Okay? As long as you finish the holding period, the initial holding period, you can redeem your investment at any time. Okay? However, it's important to note that the value of your shares when redeemed may be worth higher or lower than their original cost. So, dun sa example natin kanina, di ba? Nung binili mo siya noong December 27, 2019, this was the price. After 6 months, tumaas yung price. So that means when you redeem that investment on a specific date, then you got a higher value of your investment. But if ang investment mo, let's say, is aggressive or risky, there is the chance na kapag tinignan mo yung value niya, yung price ng shares natin might be lower than the purchasing price natin. Okay, so you have to note, you have to check muna, are you comfortable with the price? Okay ka na ba dun sa income? Okay? Or if lugi pa yung investment mo, maybe you want to continue investing, wait tayo mag-recover yung market or cut loss na. So it's up to you kung ano yung magiging action mo when it comes to your redemption. Okay? However, what we want to note, of course, is for mutual fund, a higher investment value is normally achieved over a medium to long-term period. So by medium to long-term, we're talking about around 3 years, 5 years, or even longer than that. Okay? So we are advocating the mutual fund more on longer-term investing. Of course, hindi ka naman nakatali for 3 years or 5 years. But if you want to maximize the potential earnings of your investment, then as much as possible, we are recommending to invest for the medium to long term. Okay? So in summary, mutual funds are madali. So you have the benefits of management, diversification, affordability, and liquidity. All right? So let's talk about getting started with your investment. Okay? So napag-usapan na natin yung basics of investing. All right? But let's get to know first kung ano yung kailangan mo pang i-consider before you start investing. First is identify your goals. Okay, so iba-iba tayo ng goals. Okay, we have short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. And even though you're in different stages of your life, some of you might be in nag-aaral pa lang, students. Some of you freshly graduates. Some are just starting your careers, or maybe starting a family, or already nearing retirement. Whatever your life stage is, you still have your own personal goal or goals. Okay? So you have to set a goal for your investment. Hindi ka mag-i-invest just for the sake of growing your money. It's better to have a goal why you are investing. Nag-i-invest ka ba for your children's education? Nag-i-invest ka ba for, let's say, shorter term goals like education? Or nag-i-invest ka for your eventually retirement? Okay, so whatever your goal is, you have to link that with your investment para guided ka on your actions. Okay, so based on that goal, na-identify mo na yung goal mo, now make a plan. Okay, so let's say you're in your 30s and you're saving for your retirement. Let's say you want to have an early retirement at 50 years old. So if you're 30 now and you are retiring at 50, then you have 20 years for your investment. Now you have that 20 years and yung timetable mo to make sure that by the time you reach 50 and you wanted to retire, then you have a goal in mind. You have a specific number of or specific amount in mind na dapat meron ka na by the time you reach 50. So if you want to end or if you want to retire at 50, maybe you want to have 10 million pesos, 20 million pesos, and then based on that, i-divide mo dun sa 20 years how much you are willing to or you need to set aside on a monthly basis, and what type of investment that you might need to reach or to help you reach your goal faster. Okay, and then know yourself and your investment. So ask yourself, risk taker ka ba or play it safe? Aggressive ka ba or conservative investor? What kinds of risks are you willing to take for your goal? Okay? And what is the investment? Naiintindihan mo pa? Ito yung pinaka-important. One thing that we always say to our investors is, huwag ka mag-i-invest if you don't understand what the investment is. Kung hindi mo alam kung saan ini-invest yung money mo, kung hindi mo alam kung paano kumikita yung money mo, then maybe it's not a good investment for you. Kasi baka magulat ka na lang about dun sa movement ng money mo, or worst case scenario, baka scam yung pinasok mo. So you have to know what your investment is and how it works. Okay? Who is backing the investment? So in this case, it's BPI Investment Management Inc. And are you impulsive or not? So this is important kasi baka nag-set ka ng goal for retirement. So let's say 20 years. Pero nung kumita ka on your first year, in-out mo ka agad because hindi ka makapaghintay. So you have to consider all these types of questions to guide you in your journey. Okay? So in BPI, we have what we call the hero questions in getting to know you as an investor or you as a person. Okay, so H is horizon, E experience, R risk tolerance, and O objective. So H, when do you need to use your money? Okay, so this is your timeline. E experience, have you tried investing before? If ever you have tried investing before, anong types of investment? Conservative, aggressive, or something in between? Risk tolerance, how much risk are you willing to take? Okay ka lang bang makita ng losses in the short term, medium term for your investment, or totally ayaw makita ng pagbaba sa value ng investment mo? And O is objective. What is your goal for the investment? Okay, so this 4 questions would help us determine or help you determine what type of investor you are. Are you a conservative, a moderate, or an aggressive investor? Okay, so we have talked about the basics of investing. We've talked about knowing yourself, knowing how investment works, and how to identify yourself as an investor. Now let's look at some sample mutual funds that you might want to consider. Okay, so for this session, I will just present 3 different mutual funds. We have more, but for the sake of time, sake of brevity, focus na lang tayo din sa what we would call the core investment funds for us. Okay? The first one is ALFM Money Market Fund. So ALFM Money Market Fund, this is a conservative investment. Meaning, if ayaw mong nakita na bumababa yung value ng money mo, okay, or if you are planning to invest for the short term only, then maybe you can consider starting with ALFM Money Market Fund. Also a great starting point kung wala ka pa talagang any idea about investing, then maybe you can start with the ALFM Money Market Fund. Okay, so for the ALFM Money Market Fund, we recommend this for investments na short term. That is to say, 1 year or less. Okay, so if you plan to invest for, let's say, a month lang, 6 months, 1 year, then this is a good option for you. Because if kailanganin mo yung money mo in the short term, there is very minimal risk na bumaba yung value ng money mo in that span of time. Okay? Holding period of this fund is just 7 calendar days. So if you invest today, you can redeem your money as early as next week, Tuesday. Thursday pa lang ngayon. So next week, Thursday. Okay, so just 7 days. You don't have to redeem naman on the 7th day, but you can continue investing as long as di mo pa kailangan yung money mo. Okay? So this is a good alternative for parking cash. Okay, so kung ayaw mong naiiwan ng yung money mo sa deposit account dahil ang baba ng interest rate, then you can consider placing it in ALFM Money Market Fund. Let's say retired ka na, alright, ayaw mo nang i-risk yung money mo, then you can park it first in ALFM Money Market Fund and then redeem ka na lang kung kailan mo kailangan ng money. Okay? So when you invest in ALFM Money Market Fund, balik tayo dun sa diagram kanina. So you pull your money together. Okay? So kapag nag-invest ka dito, isasama yung money mo with the other investors invested already in ALFM Money Market Fund. And then si fund manager yung mag-i-invest ng money. So saan niya ini-invest? If this is your fund of choice, ini-invest ni fund manager yung pooled fund into short-term fixed income instruments. So this can be time deposits or corporate and government bonds na less than 1 year na lang yung holding or yung maturity. Okay? So because of that, there is very minimal risk in terms of the investment. So it's good to generate liquidity and stable income. Okay? But at the same time, it's very affordable. Okay? So for this one, the minimum is just 5,000 pesos. So you can invest more if you want, but at least it's very affordable at 5,000 pesos. If you're going to look at the graph, okay, so yung green line, that is the performance of the fund. If you're going to look at the 5-year performance, it's very stable. Okay? Hindi siya yung erratic or hindi yung malikot yung paggalaw ng performance ng fund natin. And that is expected because again, ang pinaglalayan niya lang are very conservative investments like time deposits and short-term bonds. Okay, if you're going to look at the performance, let's go at the bottom part. All right, the calendar year performance, ito yung naging return ng fund on a given year. Okay, so kung mapapansin natin, hindi siya flat, hindi same yung returns niya or yung ROI every year. So if you're going to look at, let's say, 2021, the fund returned 1.08% net of taxes and fees. So parang around 5 times siya ng regular interest rate sa deposit account ng bangko. Okay, in 2020, ang taas ng performance niya at 3.20%. In 2019, it's 4.09%, and so on and so forth. So baka itatanong niya, bakit sometimes mas mataas yung return ng investment? So that is all dependent on the market. Okay, so for the previous years, mas mataas pa yung interest rate natin sa mga bonds at sa mga time deposit natin. So that's why in 2018, 19, and 20, mataas din yung return ng investment fund natin. Last year, bumaba siya because mababa rin ang interest rates natin sa market. Of course, that is part of the COVID response, di ba? Binabaan ng BSP ang rates to make sure na yung mga businesses can borrow money at a lower cost. So that's why yung mga time deposit din, yung mga bonds na pinag-investan natin last year, mas mababa rin yung interest rate. And that generated also a lower ROI compared to previous years. But if you're going to compare it versus other years or other conservative options like a deposit account, this is much higher already. Okay? And kapag nagtaas ulit ng interest rate ng market, then you can expect na tataas din yung performance ni ELFM Money Market Fund. So if you're a first-time investor again, or you're a retiree, you're a conservative investor or a short-term investor, the ELFM Money Market Fund is our recommended fund for you. Another option that you can consider, let's say you're an aggressive investor naman, is the Philippine Stock Index Fund. So the PSIF, the Philippine Stock Index Fund, we recommend this for aggressive investors. Okay, so by aggressive, we mean investors na kapag nakita nilang bumaba yung value ng investment nila, hindi sila nagpa-panic. Okay, hindi sila biglang magpo-pull out, tapos pinull out nila at a loss. Okay, these are investors who understand the movement of the market. Alam nila na kapag bumagsak yung market, it would just take some time to recover. So they can either wait or they can add money. Maglalagay sila ng additional money kapag bagsak yung market. Kasi kapag nag-recover yung market, then double-double yung magiging income nila because not only will their previous investment recover, but yung additional na investment nila would earn more once the market recovers. So for aggressive investors siya. Hindi siya for conservative investors kasi baka kailangan mo yung money mo at after a short term only, and then worst case scenario, nung kinailangan mo yung money mo, down yung market. So we don't recommend this for short term investors. Our recommended time frame for PSIF is at least 5 years. Okay, 5 years siya. However, yung holding period is just 90 days or 3 months. Okay, so after 3 months, you can redeem your money na, but we recommend that you stay here for the long term of at least 5 years. Okay, so kung titingnan natin yung performance ng fund. Okay, so compared before kay money market fund na very stable yung performance, with PSIF, alright, volatile na yung performance niya. On a daily basis, sharp yung pagtaas, sharp yung pag-decline niya. And what is the reason for that? That is because naka-invest siya sa stocks, hence the name, di ba? It's invested in Philippine stocks, particularly in the top 30 companies in the Philippines. Okay? So if yung companies na to, okay, they earn or they become profitable, then that would also translate to a spike in the performance. However, if their businesses are affected or bumaba yung value ng business nila, then we can also expect na magdidip yung performance ng fund natin. Okay? But since these are invested still in the top 30 companies in the Philippines, you are automatically diversified in the top names, yung mga best companies in the Philippines. Hindi naman natin siya i-invest in risky companies pa rin. Okay, so we are investing in the top companies only. Okay, so kung titingnan natin yung graph, no, at saka yung performance sa baba, we can pinpoint na nag-drop siya noong 2020. And that is, of course, understandably because of the pandemic. Okay, but if we're going to look at yung previous years nga, there were years na kumita siya by as much as 24%. May years na nag-drop, and may years na maliit lang yung return at around 5% or flat lang, similar to last year. Okay? So yung market is very volatile. Meron tayong mga forecasts, but anywhere in between from January to December, from the first of the month to end of the month, and from start of the day to end of the day, maraming pwedeng mangyari in between that might significantly affect the value of the investment. That's why we recommend this only for aggressive investors and for long-term investors. Okay, so kung balikan natin yung sample natin kanina, let's say you're planning to invest for your retirement, 30 years old ka, you have 20 years, then you can consider investing in PSIF to maximize your potential growth of the investment. Okay? Yung annualized return natin, average return since inception is around 10.73% per annum. Okay, so again, for long-term investors siya if you want to maximize your earning potential. Okay, and then we have another one. This is actually our most popular mutual fund, okay, for the last 2 years. This is the ALFM Global Multi-Asset Income Fund. So this is also an aggressive investment, but the difference KPSIF is this is invested globally. Okay, it's invested not only in the Philippines, it's invested in the US, in Europe, in Japan, and other regions. And it's invested not only in stocks, it's invested in a multi-asset portfolio. So it's invested in stocks, it's invested in bonds, it's invested in cash, it's invested in other securities. Okay, so it's very diversified as can be. Now, hindi lang din natatapos yung difference niya. Okay, so alam natin how do we earn from mutual funds? Through price appreciation. Kapag tumataas yung price ng shares natin sa mutual fund. But in this case, with Global Multi-Asset Income Fund, hindi lang yun yung titingnan natin. Although kung titingnan natin yun, okay, tingnan natin yung chart. Hindi siya kasing volatile ng Philippine Stock Index Fund, but it's still volatile. No? Gumagalaw pa rin siya. Mas noticeable pa rin yung movement niya compared kay money market, for example. All right, but if you're going to look at the calendar year performance, okay, if you're going to look at, let's say, in 2020, January to December of 2020, kumita siya ng 3.68. Noong 2021, kumita siya ng 4.09. But for this year, nag-drop siya ng 2.69. Okay, as of January 31, 2022. Okay, so hindi siya kasing aggressive ng PSIF, hindi siya kasing conservative ng mutual fund, pero it's still a good investment in terms of price appreciation. But hindi lang dun kumikita si Global Multi-Asset Income Fund. The defining feature of this fund is this is the first dividend-paying mutual fund in the Philippines. Alright, ano ibig sabihin nun? Okay, the goal of the fund is on a monthly basis, it will pay out dividends to clients. Okay, every month, it aims to pay out 4 to 5% per annum. Okay, so 4 to 5% per annum, you divide it by 12, that is distributed on a monthly basis. And you can look at that historical dividend payout din sa right side natin. No? Tingnan natin, every month, it has been paying out annualized yields of around 4% to 5%. Okay? So that is credited to your account. Okay? So aside from your price appreciation, tumataas, bumaba yung value ng investment mo, kumikita ka pa from the dividend payment. Okay? So this is something that is definitely a good addition to any portfolio. Okay? But you have to identify first, you have to acknowledge first na aggressive investment pa rin siya. But if you're willing to take on the risk, then this is a good addition to your portfolio. Okay, so we've talked about 3 funds: ALFM Money Market Fund, Philippine Stock Index Fund, and ALFM Global Multi-Asset Income Fund. But we have more. Okay, if you want to learn more, open your Invest app. Tingnan natin yung mga available options doon. Research. Okay, always do your research before you invest. And then find which investment fund or investment funds are the best for you. Okay? Related to that, we're not limiting you na isang investment fund lang, isang mutual fund na yung pag-i-investan. Although diversified na yung mutual funds natin on its own, we still recommend that you spread out your investment into a portfolio. Okay? So for example, let's say you're a conservative investor, first-time investor ka, we recommend that you invest 20% of your money in money market and then 80% in bonds, for example. But as you become more aggressive, then we are recommending that you increase your exposure into equities or stocks and yung mga multi-currency investments natin. Okay? So you can take a screenshot of this. This is our general recommendation, but hindi naman siya requirement. If you want to go all in one particular fund, that is also okay. If you want to increase or decrease yung mga allocation natin dito, yung mga percentage natin dito, that is also fine. Okay? Okay, but you have to consider as well na hindi porket conservative ka ngayon, conservative ka na forever. Hindi porket aggressive ka ngayon, aggressive ka na forever. Assess yourself as well. From time to time, tanungin mo yung sarili mo, balik ka nun sa knowing yourself, yung mga questions natin kanina, tanungin mo yung sarili mo and baka iba na yung mga answers mo. And if nag-iba na, then perhaps nag-iba na rin yung investor profile mo. Baka hindi ka na conservative, baka hindi ka na aggressive. Okay, so ano yung risk natin dito? If masyado kang conservative and you stuck to a conservative fund, okay, akala mo before, short-term ka lang, tapos umabot ka na ng 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Kung nag-stay ka lang sa isang conservative fund, you are losing opportunity. Sana pala nag-invest ka na before to a higher risk investment para mas malaki yung growth ng fund mo. Okay? So, you have to reassess yourself. Baka nag-iiba yung profile mo. Similarly, baka before aggressive ka, okay? But after some time, you became conservative. Okay? Baka before the goal mo is retirement. Pero when you reach 50 years old, na-reach mo na yung goal mo, hindi na same yung goal mo. Ang goal mo na right now maybe is to preserve what you have, preserve what you've worked for, preserve what you've earned from the investment. So maybe it's time to reduce your exposure in equities and then increase your exposure in money market. Diba? Okay? So kayo lang yung nakakaalam nun kung ano yung goals nyo, kung ano yung mga mangyayari in the future. Kayo lang yung makakasagot nun for yourself. So you always have to reassess and then adjust your investment accordingly. Okay, so to summarize what we've talked about, here are your investing tips. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify your investment. Okay, mix and match based on your goals. Okay, you have short-term goals, you have long-term goals. Okay, you have conservative investments, aggressive investments. So you can mix and match to meet this diversified goals and investment types. Okay? Do not be emotional when investing. Ito yung pinakakaaway, especially ng mga first-time investor. Okay? Possibly, nakita mo kumita yung investment mo, masyado kong natuwa, in-out mo na kaagad. Then you lose the opportunity na baka tumaas pa siya. Or nakita mo yung investment mo, bumagsak na siya, niredeem mo kaagad. And then you lose the opportunity na baka nakabawi pa yung investment or even earned a lot more nung time na umalis ka. Of course, there's also the strategy of cutting losses, but you have to be objective when it comes to your decisions. Of course, this is your hard-earned money, no? So we understand na may emotional factor talaga, but try to minimize it. Okay? Think of it as hindi mo pera, for example, yung ini-invest mo. If you're managing someone else's money, ano yung magiging recommendation mo? And then you act objectively based on that. Okay? And then set a periodic review of goals and investments chosen. Okay? As we mentioned before, nag-iiba yung goals natin as you move on towards different life stages. And consider cost averaging as a hassle-free option. Okay? One of the most common questions that we receive is, when is the best time to invest? Okay, so the best time to invest was always 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Okay, but you can't go back to that time. So the best time to invest is now. But moving forward, kailan ka ulit magdadagdag sa investment mo? Okay? Timing yung nagiging problem. Gusto mo pumasok ka kung kailan best pumasok. Of course, that's logical. Pero kailan yung best time pumasok talaga? Well, no one really knows. Okay? Akala mo mababa na ngayon? What if tomorrow bumaba pa? Akala mo mataas na ngayon? Hindi na siya bababa? What if tomorrow bumaba pa or tumaas pa na? Okay? So no one really knows when is the best time to invest. So by doing cost averaging, meaning magdadagdag ka on a regular basis, let's say every month you add 1,000 pesos, okay, dun sa savings na natira natin kanina, you add on a regular basis. So regardless kung mataas or mababa yung value, yung price ng investment natin, if you add on a regular basis, you are getting the average cost of the market or of the investment, which is definitely a better option than timing the market and then nagkamali ka sa timing mo. Okay? All right. So actually, that's the end of my presentation. Okay, so just to give you an idea, we are available in Investa. Our funds are available in Investa, and we are BPI Investment Management Incorporated. Okay, so if you want to know more about us, we are a 100% owned company by Bank of the Philippine Islands. We've been doing this business for 46 years. We have a total of 19 mutual funds, and we have 194 billion pesos under our management. So we have 54% of the market share in terms of the mutual fund industry. Okay, so we have more than 100,000 retail and institutional clients. And then we have several distributors, one of which is Investa. Okay, so we hope you advocate financial inclusivity through Investa as well. Okay, so if you want to follow us, if you want to know more about our products, if you want to get more updates from our products, then we have a Facebook page. You can go there, you can like and check out our latest posts at ALFM Mutual Funds. Okay, and that's the end of my presentation. I hope you learned a lot from what we have discussed. Okay, you do your assignments, you do your assessments, okay, and then you start your investment journey. All right, again, I am Kimm Arellano from BPI Investment Management Inc. and have a great night.
InvestaFest 2022 is brought to you by these major partners: Atram, To Trade Asia, and these other partners. Do not forget to share your experience and learning on social media. Use our official hashtag InvestaFest 2022.